And I was like, okay, let's go. And that's what we did.
So this is the opposite of vibe coding, what you're doing. This
it's
is
not
the real,
vibe coding.
the real deal. How refreshing in 2026.
I wish it was vibe coded. It saved me a lot of time.
I love the idea that you have AIs assessing other AIs.
You do.
And what happens if they get into a spat?
Lots of people are building these endpoint AI solutions as these, put magic in, something happens, stuff comes out.
I find it hilarious that I have all these LLMs debating the best solution.
Do you ever just want to unplug?
Yeah, I kind of do.
You decide to be like, all right, this is happening. I could just wait it out.
I'm second guessing it now.
Like a coast.
I'm not.
No. We're going to have a very wonderful conversation and then a lovely discussion to follow. So my name is Stephanie Hare, and I co-host a show called AI Decoded on BBC News Channel that you can watch on iPlayer and YouTube. So AI is my jam, and I was really excited to be part of this conversation because it's always so exciting to meet somebody who's building something new and feels that they have, they're taking this to the next level, and this is beyond automation. This is about doing things that you couldn't do before. So I think there's something really exciting about this, and we're going to tease out some of the themes of that. But before we do that, I'd like to ask our panel, if I may, stepping one at a time, to introduce themselves so you can hear their voice first. Izzie.
Hi, I'm Izzie Rivers, currently CEO and founder of Ray. I'm very excited to be talking to you about it today.
I'm Gabie Boko. I'm the CMO of NetApp, and I'm a user of Ray.
Hey everyone, I'm Nicky. I'm the technical resource on the panel, and I'm Dutch, as you can probably tell.
I'm quite excited that we have someone technical on the panel, and I'm going to ask at least one nerdy question, so just be ready.
That's fine.
But we planned it ahead of time, and there is a slide. So. Rejoice with me. One of the things that I think that's very interesting about this event and about the moment that we're in is that AI for a really long time has been about automation. And I think a lot of people get worried about that because they think automation, either tasks or jobs, is just about reducing headcount. And that's a really limited, it's a real concern in the market, but it's a really limited way of thinking about AI. The true value of AI is going to be when we are starting to do things that we could not do before. And I think that's what you're going to be seeing today in this discussion and with this tool. So for our first question, this is to Izzie, so a softball one. This has been described as a brain first, not as an endpoint solution. So I'd like you to talk us through, this is a room full of people who've seen a lot of AI products that are large language model wrappers. What is different about your design philosophy here?
Sure. I think anybody who knows anything about AI knows that it was born out of pattern recognition out of Canada, right? And that's not a surprise. AI is incredibly good at handling a whole load of data and then finding the patterns and the next best thing to predict with it. So the first use cases for AI were in those fields. You saw it with some finance, recognizing pictures of snow leopards or whatever it happened to be right at the beginning. That's where it was born. And I think it makes complete sense that the first place it was then adopted was in work streams where there was short, fast things that could be solved by AI, like finding cancers in scans, or in the world of marketing, churning out different sizes of ad creatives, or writing your blog much more quickly, or whatever it happened to be. But to me, those are really endpoint solutions, and they're limited in the scope of what they can actually deliver, even if you're looking at agentic and you're putting that together, because you're still using a multitude of tools and things to try and achieve anything. It's just quite granular. The difference for me is when we have to build the brain. If we want to build the world's best marketer, which is what this is, build that knowledge and that really deep training. And once you've got that, you can get it to do anything. You can get those agentics in to get it to build great media plans. But then in the future, you can go further and have it build the creative to go with that, or build the trafficking sheets to go with that, where that happens to be. So the brain is the most important thing. And if you think about it, that's probably the area where you get most frustrated with LLMs, right? Just using them on their own when it produces something just isn't good enough for you to use. So that's why Ray, we believe, is massively different, is we've built the brilliant marketer, and that leaves tremendous scope to then go out from there.
And let's ask Nicky then to take us through the engineering reality of that. So you've painted the vision, but you have to build it.
Yeah.
So what does orchestrated, AI at the center mean in practice? And what did it take for you to build something that didn't exist before?
Well, when I first asked the Realm and the Ray team what it takes to create a media plan, I got back, and this was on my request, by the way, this is not their fault, but I got back a 27-page Word document.
Yeah.
And I decided, what if I just feed that to an LLM and hope the best comes out? And surprisingly, it didn't really work.
Nope.
So the way the system's built came out of trial and tribulation. The first instance didn't work. It wasn't going to be a simple, let's chuck some information in an LLM and hope it's going to work. All right, that doesn't work. How do we get it to work? What we then had to start doing is we tried to decouple some of the bits of knowledge that were in that and really orchestrate the knowledge bases themselves, and then feed them at the right time with the right context, with the right questions. So we really started to orchestrate, rather than giving it a blanket statement, give me a media plan, we said, all right, why don't we give it only the right amount of information at the right time? For some of us that work with LLMs a lot, one of the big challenges is context, right? The more you talk to it, the dumber it gets. Dumber being, quote unquote, it doesn't necessarily get smarter otherwise, but it gets less intelligent for your questions. So managing that, that's why we came up with orchestrating the workflow and orchestrating the AI itself.
It lets you keep a real depth of knowledge in there as well, right?
Yes,
so it's
it
a bit
does.
like going to your team instead of going to one person that's a generalist and doesn't know enough to help you. This is multiple small language models and large language models and databases and RAG system. It's a complicated piece of technology. It's not like a wrapper that you would have on an LLM. It's not a Gemini wrapper or anything like that. So each one of those sort of strategists or elements is like going to somebody in a team who might be your B2B strategist, or your specialist on social media, or your specialist on search, whatever it happens to be. And that's where it gets really powerful, exactly that. But it's funny how it's almost replicating the human world within the technology.
I mean, I think that's also what's interesting, is this is not something that's off the shelf. This is something that you all have spent a lot of time building. And can you just remind us, how long have you spent crafting this?
From design, scope, and build, it's been about 18 months.
Right.
Yes, which is why I think it can get frustrating when you see people say they've spun something up in 2 months. They go, this is a really complicated piece of AI technology. You go, no, it isn't.
Yeah. So this is the
Can't be.
opposite of vibe coding, what you're doing. This
it's
is
not
the real,
vibe coding.
the real deal. How refreshing in 2026.
I wish it was vibe coded. It saved me a lot of time.
Yeah, don't let him away with the vibe coding.
Gabie, can you talk us through NetApp's experience of using Ray, the first company to be globally part of the original beta? What has been the experience for you and your team in practice?
My team of one, Chris, my team of one. I think that's definitely the value in this. I sat in a bar with Chris and Izzie less than a year ago now, yeah?
Vegas, wasn't it? Was it Vegas?
I don't know. It was a bar. I lose track. Could be the booze. Chris and I had been looking to reimagine how we did media buying for quite a long time, simply because it's just, the big agency model for CMOs is just not something that's tenable. We were actually talking today how many big agencies are not actually around anymore, and so what do you do when there's no more big agencies? You're looking for a small agency, or you're looking to bring FTEs, full-time employees in, and we didn't want to do that. And you were right there. You were close. You were in. You had something, and you was like, I think you actually said.
What did I say?
I don't know, but it was.
It's like, this is where it's
going.
going.
It was epic. It was like, I'm getting disrupted. No, you know what you said? You said, I've decided not to be disrupted. I've decided to disrupt.
Yeah, that's it. I'm disrupting myself.
Yeah. And I was like, okay. let's go. And that's what we did.
Cheaper, better, and faster. Would you like to?
Which is really what we needed to do. You know, I think the experience is we didn't have a team, we didn't have an agency, we had limited dollars, we needed to make it go far. This was absolutely perfect. We honestly, a little bit of trial and error, but as with all AI, it moved fast, and I think are we experiencing 80 to 90% success rates, and we're penetrating our target accounts like we've never been able to do with any other agency. So absolutely stellar. And I didn't have to hire any more employees. I mean, that's kind of the fake promise of AI, but I think that what it did is it wasn't about hiring employees. It was about, can I create a model that's different from what I had before? And can that model actually be replicated by other CMOs? And can it deliver what I'm trying to get it to do? So I consider it a disruption, not just for you, but for me. I just changed a model inside my business that I don't have to now, do something different with. So
yeah, and that's such a great point as well on the staffing. So there's people from, from clients here, I'm sure will agree with the same, that the pressure's already there. We've got a lot of smart marketers working in their own companies that don't have enough people to actually deliver on what they need to do. And the chief pain point for paid media is it just takes so long. And a lot of the jobs are really repetitive. And we were onboarding 120 publishers into Ray from the beginning. And they're fantastic publishers. I mean, you're talking grade A press, World Media Group press, and LinkedIn and your Googles and whatever it happens to be. That's a lot of people to be communicating with and doing media plans when the staff that you have could be doing much better and more useful things in the business than responding to 200 emails a day.
And you need to be able to be successful quickly, and this was less than a year.
Yeah.
Now, pushing back gently, but
Gently?
firmly, I'm just intrigued for the senior marketers who are in this room, and they've lived through wave after wave of platform adoption. What makes Ray different enough to cut through, but familiar enough that teams can get the results fast that you were just talking about?
It's a great question. You might have a perspective on this as well, Nicky, I'm not sure. But I would say it's certainly true that if a company is going to adopt a new piece of technology, it's going to have to make enough of an impact on their day-to-day life for them to bother onboarding it and learning it and having it be part of their company, right? But at the same time, it has to be familiar enough for those people to use and operate and have a familiar UI so they can get something valuable out the back of it. So mine is a user experience answer to that, I suppose, more than perhaps a technical. You might have a more technical answer, Nicky. And just, it has to fundamentally, it can't save 20% of the time. It has to save at least 50 to 60% of the time off the back. Otherwise, you could hire a junior or,
One of the key things that we did when we designed the system itself is we tried to make it completely, we have succeeded in making it completely voice-driven as well. I think one of the key things AI is actually doing isn't necessarily just the brainy thing. I think the UX that people want and expect now from apps is completely different. I think people just want to go to ChatGPT and ask a question rather than having to hunt through hundreds of apps. And as part of the design, we did build it that way. So it's an API. You can talk to it from any other platform you would like, potentially, but the brain is accessible. So we always looked at, all right, we are going to disrupt the market. What are all the barriers to entry, and what does the UX need to look like to make this as successful as possible? And I think we've done a decent job with it.
Yeah.
But of course, this is never going to stop. We're going to keep building and keep iterating. But I think for where we are now, we've done a decent job with it.
It's good. I did give them the Jarvis dream. The Iron Man, Jarvis type thing. I was like, no, I want holograms. I want to be able to speak to it. I want this
thank God you didn't do the
future-proof. We do not want Clippy, no.
Sweet Lord. No, you know what? I think senior marketers don't want another walled garden. They do not need another set of technology that is a platform that has to connect to another platform that purports to be able to do what all the other platforms do. That is an absolute waste of money. And if AI has disrupted anything, if you have disrupted anything, you've proven that you don't need a walled garden platform.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to be successful here.
Yeah, it's going to eliminate hidden rates, inflated rates. I mean, I'm not throwing shade at the previous agencies that I have worked with. I'll never be so cruel. Never. But, margins have been shrinking in media agencies for years, and they've been dealing with that by putting hidden margin in everything they can to try and bring it up from the 5% that they might be trying to run a giant business on up to sort of 20. But that's really, really painful for clients, and moving things to technology that they can log into and see exactly where everything is. It's just,
I also
I
think
like
this
compliance.
This disrupts IT too, no offense, but it does. I have IT right now breathing down my neck saying, we want to combine all of our efforts. You have IT people in your team. I don't have any IT people in my team, and you don't know how to use my tech, so knock yourself out.
Yeah.
But Gabie, on this point, I mean, we're talking about AI as a scale play and not just as a cost-cutting exercise. So what are you looking to achieve with AI for NetApp?
I'm definitely tasked with cost cutting. I'm not going to lie, it is absolutely part of my remit. What I'm trying to do is change the conversation to say I can cost cut, but I can get us into new markets faster. I can attract new audiences faster if you allow me to use AI in a different way than what you're telling me to use it for. So I view that as the role of a CMO, quite frankly. I mean, that's the role of the CMO to do that in general for messaging and brand, to create new markets, to create new routes. To use AI, I'm actually able to use technology to do the same. Now, I know I'm in the technology space, and that's kind of different for, not everybody would be a technology company using technology to create new routes. But I think that that's finally a golden door for a CMO to actually create technology that is different, right? And that isn't doing what we're being asked to do. So I'm excited by that. So it's not scale, it's, hell, maybe I can be the CIO. I certainly use more technology than he does.
Moving swiftly on to Nicky, speaking of technology, what are the challenges to scaling intelligence? A nice, easy question for you. What has it been like building Ray?
Well, I've already given you part of the 27-page document that I got to
That
then
was just
distill.
the first one.
Yeah, that was probably distilled version too.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Honestly, the first challenge I had is understanding the lexicon that I had to get used to. Channels, markets, I didn't know what they all meant. It's quite challenging for someone outside of the business. If you relate that to an AI, one of the challenges that a lot of people have is a word can mean many different things, first of all, right? That's a challenge in itself. I think, to your question, scaling knowledge is really difficult because we need to treat an LLM as a tool and not necessarily as a solution. So an LLM is just a cog in our system. It provides us with an interface that provides intelligence back, but we need to build the knowledge bases around it and the instructions around it and give it the right information at the right time for it to be effective and useful. That architecture, and as well as I was saying before, without geeking out too much, the context window, right? The bigger the context, the quality will drop, and therefore, in an enterprise tool, it's not great if the quality isn't great. So if we're providing enterprise tooling, we need to make sure that we catch hallucinations, that we catch things that are falling outside of guardrails, and all the other things that AI just isn't very good at. That's our job to take care of that. So
Can we tell them about judges? I didn't know about this till we were actually going.
Yeah,
I love the judges. They're amazing.
One of the challenges is that sometimes absolute nonsense will come out of an AI. I'm sure many of you have asked things to ChatGPT that it responded with absolute nonsense. What we have done, especially when we generate the media plans, we incorporated, this is an industry standard pattern called the LLM as judge, where we actually ask another LLM to review if it's still doing the right thing. And this sounds very dystopian, but it actually works quite well, and it will catch a lot of errors. And if you then add very simple semantic error handling over the top, you're fighting against the AI to get it to as good as possible, but that is also where our value lies.
We also had to be really careful about what information lives where, and it's quite a complex setup because you cannot have Ray going, oh great, yeah, you want to do a media plan in Japan, you should do this crazy platform that you've never heard of before that I've just scraped off the internet and it costs 10 million pounds CPM or whatever. It just makes up, so it can't make up rates, it can't make up where to go, it can't make up what it can buy on it. It has to be within the remit of what's actually available and be what's useful for the client. So I think that's nice as well though, because that's duplicating the expertise that the people bring and making sure that, you'd do that in an agency, you'd onboard the suppliers, you'd do financial checks with them, you'd make sure everything was kosher, you wouldn't just let the thing go off and do crazy things.
Yeah. I love the idea that you have AIs assessing other AIs?
You do.
And what happens if they
It's their only
get into a
job.
spat?
What if they talk to each other?
Yeah. What if they decide to team up against you?
Yeah.
It's quite good when it helps build itself, though, isn't it?
Yeah, in a way. One of the things we've done is, for example, when we ask for suggestions, what will happen is we have validation layers in place. And once the LLM catches the LLM doing something it's not supposed to, it will tell it, mate, can you not do that? That's not great. Here's some feedback. Try again. And that actually works really well. Again, it's almost like you've got a human in the loop with a different piece of context to tell the LLM, can you not do it that way, can you do it this way? Mm-hmm. And that really helps, funnily enough. I find it hilarious that I have all these LLMs debating the best solution.
Do you ever just want to unplug?
Yeah, I kind of do. Honestly, AI, I'm sick of it now, but
No, it's not.
You're very untrend for what it's worth.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people feeling that way at the moment. This brings us very neatly into the trust security section of the talk, because we want to make sure that it's safe, right? And it's reliable to use. We have to talk about that. So this is for Gabie. For enterprise teams, AI evaluation and governance is a real barrier. How is NetApp thinking about that, and what's giving you the confidence to proceed?
It's twofold, I think. I think you have to allow your employees to learn and to risk and to innovate and to play, and that's really great. And we're definitely doing all that. We're allowing them to train. Out of all the people inside the company, marketing is the highest adopter and the biggest user of AI currently to date. So I'm really proud of that. At the same time, my people build crap every once in a while, and so we fill our stuff up with crap. And so, like, how are you managing that? And that becomes a way to sit down and have conversations about, what are you actually building? Did you actually read this? Did you think that was smart? Did you think that was somebody would like that? Who was that for? So it's kind of forced a conversation of how do we address this? How do we think about it? How do you want to do your job better? And I think that that's really part of, like, just internal governance without a hammer. There's obviously, my friends in IT have a bigger hammer. It's like, that's, you created risk by allowing data outside of the confines of us, and that's not what you do. NetApp, for those of you who don't know, is a data infrastructure company. We provide all the data infrastructure from storage all the way through data management for the cloud and for many other things. So I get off my soapbox. But when you think about that's what your company's supposed to do, and then your employees are trying to play around with it. You want to allow them to play within the confines, and you want to allow them to risk as well. I think what we're most interested in is that we're finding the experimentation too confining. And so we're trying to find the place that they can go play that is outside in a safe space, to allow them to test and play in ways that allow us to be more successful with performance. That's the harder bit. That has gone beyond the confines of IT, which they've told me lovingly. That has now breached HR. And so HR is saying, we need to come and talk about this. So it becomes an all-company conversation. So when you have a team that's a little bit forward, which I believe marketing should be, then it's about the whole company coming together. And I am lucky to have a really great executive team that says, you're outpacing us. How do we catch up? Not how do you stop, but how do we catch up? So I think that we're all in the same boat, and we're all trying to figure it out. So as long as you have friendlies and who are willing not to put a kibosh on you, then that's the best world you can be in.
And Nicky, can you take us inside the security architecture? We're talking about no model training on client data, private model design. Why were these non-negotiables from day one and not features that you decided to add on later?
Because I think it's something that a lot of people should be doing, but not a lot of people are doing in this space. I think when you look at the AI space at the moment, we are a lot of companies are disregarding the risk of their data being gone because they have to keep up. It's a very difficult playfield for any executive to sort of thread that needle successfully. Let's not have them do that at all. Let's just make sure that they can use the tools and they're enabled to use the things that we build without having any of these conversations. So We have segregated every single customer in their own database. There is no data leaking between them. Everything is completely separate. The models that we use, we do not train. We don't train the provider of the models. We run our own models sometimes, but we make sure that no data is ever used for training any models ever. The only thing that we, for example, might do is we might fine-tune a model on generic data to make it better, right? But that's all generic data. Nothing specific from a client will ever leak a boundary. And that's been a core design principle from the start. To me, that should always have been the case.
Yeah.
Do you think that other people are as aware of that risk as you are and are making steps towards safer architecture? Are you still, when you look at the wider market,
Yeah.
Where do you think the wider market is today?
I think the wider market is still in full acceleration mode, with some people are catching up on the enterprise side. But I think catching up on the enterprise side now still feels a lot like a legal exercise rather than an actual technical exercise.
It's foolish as well, because we're getting great traction in the fact that the product is ready to go with large enterprise, and the AI council processes to get these things through is it's so robust and it takes so long, and you have to jump through so many hoops. It would be completely redundant not to have it, because you simply wouldn't be able to use it at the end.
Ours was fun, right?
Oh God, it was a long process, but you know what? It was a worthwhile one, and it was fairly enjoyable because we had at least done everything that they were looking for. So.
Yeah, I think we also had a pretty decent, easy go at it. I've been in worse.
He likes jinxing things, in case you hadn't noticed.
Because I was in the back room. No.
Yeah.
And is this where we have the slide?
Do you want to see the slide?
Yeah.
We can put the slide. Alex, can you put the slide,
I
please?
asked for this because I feel that people often sit at events like this and go, yeah, we've got amazing architecture. And no one actually wants the receipts. No one says, cool, take me through it. So this is for you. I was trying to advocate for the audience here. I want to see the slide. Talk us through it.
Right. Can you see the slide?
I'll turn to this. Well, yeah, I can, or I can go this way. Yes.
Right. So I'm just going to quickly walk through the pictures. So left we have, let's call her Lucy. Lucy wants a media plan. Then we have the ball icons or agents. In this specific instance, this is where you would engage with Ray. Just for everybody who is really technically profound here, this is the high level.
That's
happy
most of the audience
to dig
are
down
technically
further.
profound. Okay.
Sorry?
Most of the audience are technically profound.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
This is the high level. So what happens is you'll talk to a conversational agent first. This agent is prompted to not know too much. This is not going to be a smart ass when you speak to it. It is effectively going to gather the information is required and then push it on, Alex. That's a nudge. There you go, mate. It's going to push it on to a strategist. The strategist then, depending on what stage you are in your media plan creation, what questions we need to answer, and everything in between, will then connect the dots to other agents. So if you go one further, mate. Thank you, sir. We will have different models doing different things at different times to make sure that the best output comes back to you. I do want to say that we are currently using, we use search, we use data that we provide, we use industry standard data, we have our own knowledge bases, lots of stuff in our knowledge. There might be more, right? We are ready to tap into more. We're only at the start. I don't know what we're going to tap into next. That's going to feed the model and make it better. But there will be many more data sources, skills, knowledge base, etc., that we can feed in. The strategist then gets the information back, and then if you, Alex, it tells you something, and it gives you an example. Hey, for the first phase, why don't we do X, Y, and Z? And then, of course, as Lucy is an astute marketing leader, she's not really agreeing with it yet. So I guess we need to go back to training. But this is how, from an orchestration perspective, the system works. It allows you to intervene, and it gives you ample opportunity to, but it does a lot of work for you out of the box with different data sources and different tools it has.
Yeah, and it is built to empower the user that's using it. So this is not a black box. You have to go, literally log onto the platform, you have to go through every stage of doing it. You can override at any point. You can put whatever you want in there. No, put this market. I don't want to work with the BBC. I want to work with the Wall Street Journal. Not that anyone would ever say that. Stephanie, ever. Nobody is. So you can do those things, and it helps you build that. It is there to help you do it. It's like the world's smartest marketing team to help you put the output out there that you need to make a difference. And I think that is important because lots of people are building these endpoint AI solutions as these put magic in, something happens, stuff comes out. That's not very helpful if you're going to spend millions of dollars. on the actual output.
And it's also such a, one of the reasons I'm passionate about slides like this is I actually hate the way that so much of technology is like, oh, you can't understand it. You little people who also write the checks for this and also are on the receiving end of all risk. I absolutely think you can understand it. We can demystify all of this, and that's part of the whole trust proposition, right? So in AI ethics, you have transparency, explainability, and accountability, right? So you want to be able to understand how it works, you can see it, and there's always a human at the end. That's the accountability piece, right? So it's hopefully, lesson and sermon over, but I think that's really important in this moment that we're in with AI. Not having a black box must be very reassuring for people who are going to use this, because that's a real risk elsewhere. You don't know why you are getting the output you are getting.
Yep.
Right? And you can't afford to get that wrong in your business. So, well done. Our last one, don't worry, the champagne that awaits you is only 2 questions away. This is for Izzie. So you disrupted your own business, which is actually a very brave and possibly scary thing to do. Why? Because let's be honest, most of us are not going to do that. It's a lot of work, it's high risk, it's scary, and I think we're all living in a moment where we're being told, either disrupt yourself or you will potentially be out of a job, or you'll be replaced by someone else who's using AI, possibly in another country. And so everybody's, I think, genuinely, the mood music around AI at the moment is not particularly jolly.
No.
So how did you decide to be like, all right, this is happening. I could just wait it out.
I'm second guessing it
I
now.
could coast.
I'm not.
No, but I think you've said something that's actually really interesting there. And what's different about you is you went away and did something about it.
Yeah.
So talk us through that.
Well, I think I was mentioning outside, so yeah, I've been in the industry a long time. I love it dearly. I love a lot of the people in the audience. It's been a great ride. And I think if I'd founded Realm, a media planning and buying agency, about 10 years ago, it would have gone gangbusters. It would have grown really quick. And Realm has grown. That's the difficult thing. Like, Realm is a successful agency. It's done very well. But you could just see in the pace of it at the heart. And you just have to be honest enough to look at what the clients want, where the market is going, and what's actually required. And it was not a leap to think, this has got a year and a half. And then what do? Do you cling on? And you see there's a lot of M&A in the business at the moment, like Martin Sorrell's lovely phrase of 2 giant companies huddling together in the cold winds of change, which I thought was a bit overdramatic, but there you go. You can hunker down, you can wait there's a lot of people waiting for this AI thing to pass, and I just think that's absolute madness. And I don't jump on every bandwagon. I didn't have any NFTs. In case anyone's worried about it. I don't own any Bitcoin.
How much crypto do you?
None. No. But this one, you just see in an instant that it's going to change everything. And media planning and buying is ultimately disruptable. And what's the point in waiting for somebody else to go and build that thing? If you can build it, so raised some money and found some really smart people and started going, and then it just got an energy of its own, and we said, right, let's go. And the most interesting bit, I think, has been, I've got a lot of the lovely staff that I work with, amazing team members from Realm in the audience, who it's bringing them along. Because ultimately, this is about job security for people in the future, moving with the times and building something that's got legs for another, very long period of time. And to do that, I don't know if it's brave, but I definitely think it's practical and logical as well as innovative to me.
I think this is a cross-cultural moment. So brave from a sincere American perspective, it's like, you're really brave. Whereas like British brave is like, oh, you put a bikini shot on Facebook. Very brave.
I wouldn't do that.
So I mean it in the sincere way. I think it is brave. And also the fact that you not only saw the opportunity, but that you went and followed through on it. That's pretty cool. Gabie, from a client perspective, why is it important to keep innovating? Right, so we have somebody who's disrupting themselves. On the receiving end, you are also disrupting yourself. Why is that? Where do you see the future of AI making a real impact?
Thank you for the very large question that I'm assuming I have to answer very short.
No.
Just
5 words is fine.
5 words.
No, I'm kidding. You have plenty of time. Seriously.
I got into marketing and I got into technology because I wanted to change the world. And I thought that it was going to disrupt everything. And happy to say I was right. And that this was the industry I wanted to be in. And if I believe that AI is just the next thing, there will be something after AI, we can count on it. And so if you don't have a posture of change, if you don't, that was my bottle of champagne I was saving for later. Thanks, Ian. But if you don't have a posture of change, if you don't have a posture of reevaluating your models, reevaluating how you do things, then you will always be disrupted. So as far as I'm concerned, that's how I know that I am successful with NetApp. That's how I know that NetApp is looking at the market itself. That's why I partner with people like Izzie, because I think that posture is the only thing that lives up to the reason I got into this job in the first place.
I've been asked to do a pithy sum up. And I was really worried about this. No, I find it's completely terrifying because you're like, but I'm doing this live and I have to be listening to you, but also constantly thinking of the sum up. But it's actually emerged very organically here. I think if you're a control freak and you are looking at AI and all of the change, and there's a lot of change at the moment, I don't think this is a very calm time, this idea of disrupting yourself rather than waiting for someone else to come and just sort of, bulldoze your life is actually a control freak's dream. Right?
My husband's at the back. He might actually agree with you on that one.
Sorry, go build your own future. And that's what I find very empowering about this conversation, because there's a lot of hype and hot air about all of this. This is actually very practical from everybody here on this couch, right? So it's practical down to the slide, right, where we can draw it on a napkin. We can go discuss it at the bar. We can discuss data architecture. We can have a demo and play with the tool and see how it works. We know that there's no black box. We're reassured. But there's also the fact that there's two people here disrupting themselves as business people from different sides of the equation, providing, using. And that, I think, is where it is scary to disrupt yourself. And I know what it's like, and I feel the same way. I also am constantly I've had so much innovation that I've had to come to terms with in my life and career, and sometimes I'm exhausted by it. And a lot of it is hype, and you feel like you're wasting time. If only 1 out of 10 of these things is going to pan out, maybe you could just wait that one out and see which one actually sticks. But I do agree with you that I think AI is here to stay. So I think, annoyingly, we do have to come to terms with it. Asking yourself, what could I disrupt in my own business or even in my own life using these tools, and making it fun and interesting so that it, to Gabie's point, sticks to your mission of why you got in this in the first place. I thought that was a very powerful statement that you just made of why you do this.
It was so that we could come drinking in the Ned.
Yeah.
That's why we got into marketing.
And you found each other, so you're looking to work with people who are also cutting edge.
Like follows like.
Yes, that is very powerful. So that's my pithy summing up, is disrupt yourself.
Thank you very much.